Hello, everybody. Let's talk Inside Out 2. I just watched this movie yesterday, last night in theaters, and I have to say, overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm a Taurus, so I basically like when I am familiar or when I like things or when I see things that I've liked before or that I'm familiar with or that I know. If you want to watch Inside Out 2 and you expect like a lot of new situations or things, I mean, they do happen. This movie focuses more on the social element and interactions. It differs from the first movie in that in the first movie, the crisis was that Riley had moved from Minnesota to San Francisco. In Inside Out 2, it's basically just like her coming of age story, like basically dealing with her old friends, potential new friends. You obviously have the new emotions in the movie, like anxiety and how they interact with the other emotions. But I would say pretty much the movie follows the same type of pattern as it did in the first one. There's a there's a moment in the movie where like they basically have an adventure outside of headquarters, which to me this is like if they've been there for 13 years, why don't they set up like some type of system like the emotions or the brain where the emotions can just go around the brain and all over the place and, for easy access? Because again, we have a situation where they need to get back to headquarters, they need to get somewhere, but it's like really far away and they're like walking like all over the place and they're trying to get. So for me, it was a little bit frustrating, and I thought like, why didn't they set something up like that? But maybe that's because they didn't have anxiety before. Anxiety, basically here, I love it how the new emotions have a lot of different roles, right? And for anxiety, one of the roles besides being anxious, which we all know about, is actually planning things, thinking ahead of things, right? Where joy in this case in if you compare joy and anxiety, joy is kind of like that type of stupid optimism, like goofball type of situation, right? Like you're more of a child. And I guess that's true when you're in public as an adult and you're happy, right? You act stupid or stupidly and people are gonna like judge you, right? And I love it how there's like a correlation between this because, for example, there are moments where Joy is working the controls, right, in Riley's head, and Riley is being a goofball and having a good time with her friends in front of the teacher and other older kids. And she basically gets yelled at, she gets reprimanded, like, hey Riley, stop, like pay attention, be responsible. And then she feels embarrassed, and that's where that emotion comes in, right? So embarrassed, I'm going to talk about this in this video, but embarrassed is a very reactive emotion, right? Like you'll have like joy doing something, and then people react unfavorably to that, and then joy and then embarrassment will come up, right? And then Riley will feel embarrassed, right? So what I thought about this movie when I first saw the trailer and I found out anxiety was going to be the new emotion or one of the new emotions, I thought to myself like, oh, come on, like this is so, just because everybody nowadays has like anxiety or depression, like they're just bringing in anxiety, right? And I kind of thought it was unsavory, right? More because it's such a popular topic. Um, but it's different from what I think about now. So let me break it down. The movie basically starts with Riley at age 13, right? So now she's a teenager, um, and in the beginning of the movie, everything is like peaceful, everything's like calm. We get to see where the five basic emotions from the first movie sleep. I thought that was pretty interesting. But then they get basically alerted, or they wake up to puberty, right? To Riley going through puberty. And these cells, I think they're brain cells, come in, they do construction, right? And then they just leave everything like kind of like a mess. But they change the platform in which the control system, and then you get anxiety. Anxiety shows up. You get new emotions: anxiety, embarrassment, ennui, which I thought was also, when I saw the trailer, I was like, why are they naming these emotions, these new emotions, like some weird name? But now I get it because she's boredom and she's supposed to be kind of like French and kind of like, whatever, like I don't really care. And I thought that was funny. The movie is really funny. The movie, if you're really invested in this, the movie will make you laugh a lot and will make you cry, right? Because there are like emotional moments. I'm not talking like, buckloads or bucket loads. I'm just saying like, you'll feel the emotions basically. Um, so basically, what this movie boils down to is Riley's interactions, social interactions with her friends that she has. But there is something new here, and there is something called the belief system, which gets basically developed in her. Which I said, okay, the belief system is pretty interesting. It's an interesting notion, but it's also a notion of identity of who you are based on memories. Okay, and the belief system for me, I don't know where the creators are going with this. I don't know if there's going to be a third Inside Out, a fourth Inside Out. It would be magical if there is. It would be great to see how they develop this psychological emotional theory, right? I'm really invested in this because basically what they're saying is that, Riley's 13, so she obviously doesn't have, like according to Piaget, judgment yet. She hasn't developed like harsh criticism and critical thinking and judging, and categorizing and classifying and all of these type of more developed prefrontal cortex, logical, intelligent abilities, right? But she gets a belief system, and the belief system is based on, I guess you can call them core memories, a type of core memories. We don't really deal a lot with the core memories and the islands anymore in this one. And I notice how in this movie they are back to five personality islands, but at the end of Inside Out 1 they had multiple personality islands, so I don't know what happened there. But basically there's this belief system which is deep rooted, and it goes beyond the pit from the first movie, so beyond the unconscious where the memories go to basically disappear or to be forgotten. And what they do is they throw in like a memory in this river, and then there's a string that attaches all the way up to headquarters. And if you like, run your finger or your hand through it, it will say something like you're a good person, or you know and that's like a belief. And then basically what this does in headquarters is that it allows Riley to function without the emotions. So you can say when you're a kid you're basically all emotional, and then when as you grow you become more like, based on your experiences and your beliefs and what is right and what is wrong, right? Like she develops this when the new girl in school or in her class drops like, or some girl drops something in front of the class, and she embarrasses herself and nobody helps her to pick up the pennies that she dropped. But her belief is like, I'm a good person, right? So I go and help her, right? And that's how her belief system is set up, which I thought was a very interesting idea. Like the belief system, like what are your beliefs, right? And based on your beliefs, your values, your attitudes, you that's how you act in life, right? That's what guides you, that's what orients you in decision making, right? I thought that was cool. Okay, so there's a whole problem with the belief system, but we'll get to that. The new emotions, anxiety is funny. She has a big mouth. There's a point where she drinks like five Red Bulls like at once because she has to be like planning everything, right? Embarrassment, like I mentioned, is very reactive, right? And he just kind of sits there like being embarrassed the whole time. And Nui, which is boredom, or as Joy calls Anui, wee wee. I think I prefer wee wee, and I thought it was funny. It was so funny and on point how Joy does that, right? She's like, "What? I don't even know how to say your name. Like, I'm just gonna call you wee wee," right? I thought that was funny. And it's also very interesting to see how wee wee or boredom is the cause of sarcasm. I think my one of my favorite parts in the movie was the sarcasm chasm, right? Which is like this pit that's developed as they're flowing through the river of consciousness, or the flow of consciousness. And basically, when Riley is confronted with like tough decisions, or maybe she's gonna contradict herself, boredom steps in with sarcasm, and she's just like, Yeah, and then it's so funny because there are three moments where the emotions are talking to some of the cells across the sarcasm chasm, and they say, "Hey guys, we need your help." And the way they hear it, because it's filtering through the sarcasm chasm, is like, "Hey guys, we really need your help." Like all sarcastic, and it's so funny because anything they say, the nervous cells or the cells hear it, or the brain cells hear it like sarcastically, right? So that's hilarious. I think that was like the funniest part of the movie. Um, and then you have envy. Oh, okay. Well, before I get to envy, nostalgia also appears, but they just kind of brush her off. She's kind of like an old lady, and she'll appear once in a while, like, remember when we first, and they're just like, no, nostalgia, like, go back, right? And that's also funny. The movie's really funny. Envy. Envy was, I think, my favorite. She was so intriguing because, again, these emotions display different types of roles, right? Like envy, you would expect envy to be like kind of in a bad mood, and like I'm envious and jealous of other people, but she displays amazement, pride, competition. I was like, whoa, like the things that envy says are things that you would just like. There's this part where like she gets invited by the cool girls. Riley gets invited to some party or somewhere by the cool girls, and Envy's like, she controls what Riley says, and Riley says, really? And it was just so intriguing because I was like, what does that have to do with envy? But I guess it's like the comparing element, and the comparing element can go. I think we typically know it, or commonly know it, as just comparing yourself negatively to others, but you can also compare yourself positively. Pride. You can compare, you can think of yourself as being less or more than others, right? I guess envy ultimately fuels that. I would love to dig deeper into envy and figure out what her complexity is really, because I thought she was the most interesting character thus far in the movies, from both one and two. Okay, and sadness and embarrassment. I thought it was very interesting because at one point, embarrassment kind of feels sorry for sadness, and they actually start working together, right? Like you have two teams kind of, and sadness obviously is with the old bunch, and the new bunch has embarrassment and all these other new emotions. They're kind of all working together, especially anxiety and envy. Anxiety and envy are working together, and they at one point take over, and they expel the other five basic emotions. And I thought it was very interesting. I thought sadness kind of liked embarrassment because when she meets embarrassment, she says, well, when they all meet each other, sadness immediately says, like, hey, what's your name, big fella? Right? And then eventually, embarrassment helps sadness, and they kind of like work together. And that makes you think, like, what relationship is there between embarrassment and sadness, right? What's going on there? There's a lot to take away from this movie. There's a brainstorming scene where they're trying to get ideas, and it's literally a storm, and there's all these light bulbs raining down, and it's a brainstorm, right? And I thought that was awesome. It was very interesting and funny. And yeah, I already talked about like seeking personality versus the personality islands, right? There's a secret vault. Like they eventually get taken. When anxiety takes over headquarters, all the other five basic emotions, disgust, fear, anger, joy, and sadness, they get thrown into a secret vault, which I don't really know what relationship there is between the secret vault, where it's like your deepest, darkest secrets are hidden, and the subconscious from Inside Out 1. I don't know what that relationship is. I don't know if there's a connection there. I understand that secrets are different. They are like, you can almost say like things we're not proud of, right? Because in this case, like some people, like some cartoon characters and a video game character show up, and this secret, this big secret that doesn't want to be revealed. But if you stay until after the credits, you find out the secret, which is basically the event of Riley burning the carpet, right? So it's like the secrets, right? Like nobody is going to find out anything from the secret vault, right? And they get thrown in there. There's also a very interesting part where, which I thought was also one of the high points, because joy and anxiety are basically going at it now. They're fighting, as in Inside Out 1, it was joy versus sadness. In this case, it's joy versus anxiety. And imagination land gets taken over by anxiety. So at this point, it's when Riley is thinking up of all these possible scenarios of everything that could go wrong, and she's visualizing all of this thanks to anxiety. So joy comes in there, and she tries to have Riley imagine like good outcomes, right? Not like catastrophic outcomes, right? So yeah, it's a very social dilemma movie. And again, like the first one, there's a lesson at the end that Joy needs to learn. I felt Joy was very. I think she's trying. She really is trying, because there's a point, like in the first movie, she was oblivious completely to like sadness, or like what Riley needed, which was to express her sadness. And in this one, she's aware of that. She's aware of that. For me, the key moment was when she wanted to go back and to the back of her mind to get the personality, this like rolled up ball of strings. Um, and she's hanging on to like the thing to like go get the personality, but they're also being sucked up during the brainstorm. And the other emotions, disgust, fear, they say like, hey, we need to get back to headquarters. And she wanted to go get the personality thing, but she lets go. She listens to the other emotions, right? So this is like her acknowledging that she doesn't know it all, that she doesn't have all the answers, that she needs to be humble. So I think she really is trying to do her best with Riley. But the big problem here, is that there are memories, or there are things that are happening now in Riley's life where she's basically committing mistakes, right? And she's not learning from those, because like when she pushes some girl playing ice hockey, that memory gets thrown into like the back of her mind, right? Which is this thing that Joy artificially makes. So that memory is lost, and she doesn't learn, right? So I think that's where puberty and these other emotions come in, because anxiety is effective in trying to correct those mistakes, right? When correction needs to be done, that's where anxiety comes in, because anxiety is able to prepare, right? Like there's this moment where she makes a mistake with the girls, and they're making fun of her, right? And then anxiety comes in, and she kind of like makes Riley start apologizing and talking, like over talking, and the girl's just like, whoa, 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 yeah, like, man, don't worry, like everybody makes mistakes, and anxiety has that under control. But the problem is that anxiety becomes like a tyrant, and she overplans everything, and then it gets to the point where like, I still have this question, and if you want to answer it in the comments, why, when anxiety takes complete hold and her plan is fulfilled, why is what her personality tells her, Riley, why is it I'm not good enough, right? Which I guess makes sense, because you're anxious, you're always planning because you think you're not good enough. So then that's the end result. And I think that's when anxiety and the rest of the emotions are kind of like, whoa, like we've messed up. And Riley actually has an anxiety attack. She has a panic attack at one point, which I thought was like crazy, right? Yeah, because that's where anxiety just goes like super crazy. And it's actually, I think, sadness or joy that pull her out, and they break the new anxiety personality that anxiety was feeding, with anxious memories. And then what you get at the end is like a mix of all those things, right? Like complexity, like I'm not good enough, but I'm a good person, but I try my best, but I fail, but I make mistakes, but and you get a more complex human, right? Which I think makes sense. And well, yeah, anxiety is there. So all of these forgotten memories are in the back of her mind, but then eventually they get into that puddle of the belief system, and that's when she's able to basically like include that into herself, right? Like it's basically saying like you need to be aware of the mistakes that you make, and try to be a better person, try to correct them. right? So yeah, Joy's lesson is with the forgotten memories and anxiety's role in correcting behavior. I thought it was funny because at the end she gets like a couch and there are like candles and they're like, okay, okay, anxiety, get over here to your place, to your safe spot, to relax, because she's always like, what's next, what's next, what's next. And then I was thinking, if anxiety could actually lead to joy, I think yes, in small doses, because you work hard to get what you want, right? You're anxious and you prepare, you're motivated, but then you gotta kind of like let go of that anxiety and then sit back and enjoy the ride and let joy come in and feel happy about that, which is actually what happens in the movie, right? She eventually gets back into playing ice hockey, and joy takes over, and she actually now feels good playing because that's what she loved, right? Because the whole premise of the movie, I'm focusing a lot on the emotions, but Riley is trying to get into a team, right? And she's trying to make the team, she's trying to make the cut, and she's working really hard for that. And that's where anxiety starts doing all these things to like make her work harder, train harder, right? Be more focused, do whatever it takes to get to make the team, to make the cut, right? But she overdoes it. Anxiety overdoes it, obviously. And then yeah, but she recognizes that at the end, and she's like, I'm sorry. She apologizes. That's a very emotional moment in the movie. But yeah, she like at the end, it's all good, I guess. The movie, I didn't feel like it ended with so much of a possible continuity, or continuity. I don't know if there is going to be a part three. I hope there is, and we just see her grow into an adult and get into these more complex. I think the belief system is the precursor of intelligence and executive function and judgment and critical thinking. I think, right? I'm gonna make that hypothesis. We'll just have to wait and see in the next movies if that is something that she develops eventually, like when she turns 18, right? And yeah, at the end, Riley apologizes to her friends because she was basically like resentful, right, with her friends, and she was kind of like treating them like crap, her old friends, right? And at the end, she expects the results, right, to see if she made the cut or not, and that's where the movie ends. But supposedly she smiles at the end, so she may have made the team, but it would have kind of been a bad message because she basically like threw her friends under the bus. Well, not really, but like at one point she hits her friend accidentally because she's so focused on scoring 3 goals, being the best, right? Again, that combination of envy and anxiety, right? So yeah, we don't know exactly if she made the team or not, but we're guessing she did. I don't know if there's gonna be a part 3. I hope there is. And let me just finish this video by asking you this question. After watching these movies, today I woke up and I was like, I thought, I was like, what emotion is playing in my head right now? And I was like, probably anxiety, right? It's the one that's moving me and motivating me. And I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm asking you to finish this video, and you can also put it in the comments. What emotion is driving you right now, right? Or what emotion did you wake up to and why? All right, so let me know what you think. And that's all I got for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.